Hello and welcome back. So today I'm going to talk about 504s and other things to deal with school. I would have done this earlier, but time was part of it. But also I had a lot of videos that I knew you guys wanted to see, and on top of that, from my experience, teachers would prefer to wait about a month until school gets in to do any plans. There is a good reason for this, and I've experienced this myself with my kids. The summer can change things. Things that you may have wanted at the end of the last year, you will find that there's differences after a month of school this next year. I've had that happen a lot, and it's a lot easier to spend a month having the teachers be aware that there's going to be a 504, but it's not created yet. Here are some things we see, start working with them and see what happens. Because it's easier to do that than to modify the 504, because then you got to get everyone together again, discuss it, whatever else. And that can usually take a while. And teachers are busy right at the beginning of school. They're trying to get to know their students, everything else. So it's easier to wait that month, having personally talked to the teachers. Then you can make sure the 504 will include everything your student needs, but not more. There are times that some things they needed one year will never be needed again, or have needed in the past will not be needed in the future. You can always include them and say if it's necessary, but things change. I have a child who gets vertigo if they don't get enough to drink. We didn't know what the cause of the vertigo was. And so that 504 would have included a lot of how to deal with the vertigo, but not included the liquid and electrolyte intake. That is really what she needs. And so that's something to keep in mind and to be aware of. Another thing, sometimes you'll find that you actually have a school that is amazing, or a teacher that is amazing, and there is no need for a 504. I have had times of both. I've had times when I've gone in and talked to them and they've immediately wanted to do a 504, no questions asked. We need the 504 done. And that's fine. I've had other times they don't want to do a 504 or anything and insisted there's no way it's needed, even though I can see it. I've tried talking to teachers, whatever else doesn't work. They won't work with the student. You have to fight for it. Definitely needed. I've had other times, whether it's a school that says they want it. I have had times in a school who said they want a 504. And the teachers are adding things and doing even more than the 504 says, because that's what's best for my student. Love those teachers. I also have had schools, and my kids are in one right now, where it's a lot more of, you know what? We aren't going to have you do a separate 504, even though it would benefit the school to have a separate 504 for them, because they're a charter school, so they would get extra funding because of it. Let's see if the teachers can just work with them. If the teachers aren't working with them, whatever else, we'll either not put them with that teacher, or if needed, we'll do a 504. We aren't saying we won't do a 504, but let's see what happens. And they've been amazing. If my kids have trouble with the teacher and the teacher will not work with them, they are taken out of the class and never put with that teacher again. And all they have to do is go in and talk to the counselor and remind the counselor what's happened, and the counselor switches them out of the class. That simple, no questions asked. Just today, they are really pushing the no liquids in the classrooms rule. And I walked in and I told the secretary, reminded the secretary about their needs for liquid. and let them know that they're allowed to have water, not others. Let her know that this is a electrolyte mix. She's like, good, I'll let her teacher know. There'll never be another problem. So that's helpful to be able to figure out what type of school your kid's at to that first month. So you can decide if a 504 is needed or not. It does single out a student when you do that. And if everyone's willing to work with the student without having to make this big deal of it, that's even better for the student. So that's my first thing about 504s. My next one will actually go into some of the details for different classes, things like that. Thank you for your time, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.